Welcome to Plastic Model Mojo, a podcast dedicated to scale modeling, as well as the news and events around the hobby, where we hope to be informative and entertaining and help you keep your modeling mojo alive. Well, Dave, it's Mojo time again.
Yes, it is. It's been a quick 2 weeks since our last one of these.
I know it has been for me. We've done a lot in the last 2 weeks, together and on our own, I think.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, what you been up to in your model sphere?
Well, life's been busy, and I did take the time to turn lemons into lemonade. This past week, my youngest daughter had surgery up in Dayton, Ohio, which necessitated being up in Dayton for a couple of days and basically trapped in either a hospital room or a hotel room. The surgery went fine. Daughter's fine. Everything's fine. I didn't get over to the Air Force Museum, which I would have loved to have done, but that just wasn't in the cards given what we were doing. But I did actually do a little advanced planning so that while I was in the hotel room, I had stuff to do that was model related. I got the latest issue of our club newsletter laid out. I finished reading 2 or 3 magazines that, I don't know about you, but magazines tend to stack up for me. So I got a few of those read. I've got a lot of model adjacent stuff done. I wasn't in the house, in the model room, so I didn't get a lot of modeling stuff done, but I did manage to do a lot of model adjacent stuff instead of sitting there staring at a TV or, flipping on my phone and looking at stupid things like Twitter. I actually planned a little bit and it worked out. So I'm feeling a little bit righteous about it. Now I've got to see if I can continue that trend. How's your model sphere?
Well, it's been pretty good. I've managed here very recently, as we just talked about, got a couple of our next interviews lined up, and we had fun at a show last weekend or weekend before last, and we'll get to that later. Got another show under our belt for 2021.
That's right. Two already.
Just and the some more stuff we're going to need for Las Vegas has come in over the last couple of weeks, and we're hopefully set up now for a pretty functional table setup.
Have you found a couple of cute female roadies for us?
No, I haven't. That probably wouldn't go over too well.
Yeah, you're probably right. The model wife would object.
Well, we could take them, but
yeah,
they probably rather be doing something else.
They would
than hawking for Plastic Model Mojo.
Yeah.
That's about it, really. I haven't done a whole lot else other than taking care of their table cover and get some new mic stands and stuff like that. So,
yeah,
there we go.
What modeling fluid have we got lined up tonight?
Well, listeners may not know, but we just got back from Charleston, South Carolina area the other night from a few days down there in the Low Country. I love it down there, man. We went on our honeymoon down there, and I've been back almost, I don't know, we've probably been down there 10 times since then.
My wife just had her first Charleston overnight just recently, had never been to the city, and she had 18 hours, so she took a Gray Line tour, Charleston tour of the city, and really enjoyed it, and enjoyed the food down there as well.
Well, I'm drinking from a Holy City Brewing right there in Charleston, just their Pilsner. We were looking for something we could enjoy in the heat and sun down there, and I picked up a 12 of this, and it's pretty good.
I'm proud of you for having any of them left.
This is the last one.
Okay.
So I drank 5 down there, I think, and just about to finish this one.
Well, good.
And in addition to that, I'm still got a little half-filled shooter of the bourbon from last episode over here. Just trying to figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
I still don't like it. But it has me perplexed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it.
Well, you'll be thrilled to know that tonight I am drinking
Gumball Head.
Man, he knows it by the sound of opening the can.
That's just a lucky guess.
Okay, you got to edit the lucky guess part out where people think you know the sound of a gumball head by the way the can opens. But yes, indeed, this is the last of a 12-pack of gumball head that I got
this morning.
Yeah, no. No. You know, what else is there to say? It's Gumball Hut. It's great beer. It's really great beer in the summer. It is a really good beer if you're out in the yard listening to On the Bench while you're cutting your lawn with your riding lawnmower. It's a great beer to drink then. So, yep. I hate to repeat myself, but if I'm going to repeat myself, I'm going to do it with this.
Well, it's good in the fall, spring, and winter, too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But it is particularly good as a summer outdoor beer.
Well, did that get you through your yard work since On the Bench dropped late?
Yes, it did. It did. I sent Dave Goldfinch a note and let him know that I missed having an episode this past weekend to cut the grass to, but I managed to get through the yard work even without it.
Well, hopefully their crappy weather's over with.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, the mailbag's got a few contributions this week.
Well, good. Let's hear from the listeners.
Well, before we get to that, let's take a moment here to say that we've banned our first person from the Facebook page, and hopefully the last.
It was about it's been a year and a half. I guess that's a pretty good, given social media and the internet these days. If you can go a year and a half without getting a troll, I guess that's pretty good.
Well, we won't get too far into it, but just some unnecessarily rude and opinionated remarks. Just a lot of bad tact. Turns out it's the same French Canadian that bombed our friends over at Plastic Posse Podcast after their second or third episode. Remember that?
Yep. So I guess this guy's just working on getting banned by every modeling podcast.
Apparently he's a Mission Models Paint fanboy and everybody's doing it wrong with whatever advice they're given. So,
okay.
Whatever. He shall not be named other than Monsieur Connard Stupide.
Your French needs some work.
Yes. Connard. And he's a big one.
Yep. So let's hear from the people that we want to hear from.
Okay. Enough of that. Raymond LeGrant from Ware, Massachusetts. Now, we'd heard from him before. I think he was wanting to know about painting not pure white or pure black.
Right.
But apparently he had submitted a goof, gaff, and blunder way back when I first started soliciting them, and somehow we missed it. Well, I know how we missed it. The subject line missed my filter. Anyway, he wants to know if it wasn't good enough for the show. He understands, but it's our show. But that's not the case, Raymond. I assure you, had my filter been a little more broad, I would not have missed it, and we would have got you on for sure because it's a pretty good one.
All right, let's hear it.
Well, Ray was doing some airbrushing and was going to do the old back flush thing,
Yep.
Cover up the end of the airbrush and back flush air back through the paint cup and flush out the nozzle.
Yep.
Only the nozzle cap wasn't on the airbrush.
Ooh.
So it's kind of like a diabetes test.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like he got his COVID jab.
So Ray ran his needle through his finger.
Oh, God. And those things are sharp.
Yeah.
I mean,
but they get kind of big too. So it's a pretty good wound in the end.
Yes. Yes. And as my sister, the doctor, will tell you, penetrating wounds are in many cases more painful and tougher to heal than any sort of cut.
So Ray, we didn't forget you. Well, we just overlooked you, and that's a good one. So modeling safety, that'd be a whole nother
yes.
Another episode.
I would love to know if he had any modeling fluid at the time to lead him to forget that the cap wasn't on the airbrush.
Well, he'll have to answer that for us. The next one's all the way from Sweden.
All right.
Sam Hegblad. I hope I'm saying that right. Using my German enunciation there, but it might be a little different. He's got an episode in Sweden now, in Swedish.
Oh, really? You mean a podcast?
A podcast, yeah. Well, he doesn't, but there is one he can listen to.
Oh, really?
It doesn't have to work on his English, which may be pretty good. According to this email, it looks like it's pretty good. He's got 3 or 4 projects going on at a time and just send us some kudos, really, and send us some photographs as well.
Well, that's cool. Listen, I am amazed at the reach we have in the non-English speaking world. We've got listeners in nearly every country. Now, I know a lot of people learn English and speak English, even if English isn't their native tongue, but it amazes me the number of people and the number of different countries we have who listen.
Well, and it looks like he does a lot of 35th scale armor too. So, and he's from a military family.
Oh,
So he's got a lot of tie in there.
well, and we had an article published in Swedish, right?
Right. And it ended up somehow this Swedish podcast came out of that.
Oh, cool.
So there's some connection there.
Yeah.
Maybe they, well, I don't know. Sam will have to tell us.
There you go.
And he sent us some photographs too. And I'm still working on the gallery perpetually, perpetuity. Christopher Baines from Bulldog Models, which you mentioned last time. Now,
right.
He's the guy doing the 3D printing. Have you ever got on his website?
No, I have not.
You should. He's got a lot of 3D printers.
Really?
And he's making a lot of this, benchtop accoutrement kind of stuff.
Yeah. And those, I've seen something of his on Facebook, I think.
Well, anyway, he appreciated the shout out and asked if there's anything he could do to repay our kindness. And just thanking us for it is probably, you just did, Chris.
Right?
Right.
It just keep cranking out stuff that's useful to modelers. I'm telling you, I'm sitting here looking at my bench right now. I've got a 3D printed Tamiya glue bottle holder. I've got 3D printed Microsol Microset holder. There are a lot of benchtop applications for 3D print.
Oh, there is. You're right.
Yeah.
Brandon Walters from, he just lists Canada. It's a big place.
Yes, it is.
Says he just listened to our podcast about goose gaffs and blunders, and he should have piped up his story at the time, but didn't think to in time. He was putting LEDs into a machining Krieger mecha kit and was soldering wires in a confined space with his dad's old 1970s vintage soldering iron with a 1/2-inch diameter rod on the end.
Uh-oh.
And his arm got a bit too tired and wobbly. And now there's a burned hole in the underarm of the model.
It's battle damage.
Well, it's apparently he's keeping it concealed by the posing of the figure now.
Smart move. We'll talk about that more later when we talk about WonderFest. But the 3D lighting and wiring and all of models that has come such a long way.
Oh yeah, and WonderFest sure showed that.
Yes.
And we made a little comment about music last time. Brandon likes the 90s and early 2000s alternative rock. I'm into some of that as well, and he's also into big band swing.
Well, speaking of that, what I've been listening to lately is the Melbourne Ska Orchestra, which one of their YouTube videos popped up in my feed, and I had no idea I would enjoy that music, but I've got to say, I really enjoy what they've done. So I've added a new band to what I listen to.
He says the main thing is it has to have a strong enough beat to be loud enough to be heard over the spray booth.
Well, you know what? If you get a silent compressor, that is no longer a problem. My air booth has a fairly quiet fan to it, and I've got a silent compressor, and I don't have to crank the music up.
Well, I can empathize because my old Pace spray booth is I wouldn't say it's loud, but it's loud enough that to drown out any kind of music you're trying to listen to at a reasonable volume with everybody else in the house.
Yes, the wife and kids might not appreciate it.
Paul Wheeler says he appreciates the information about the IPMS Nationals coming up, and he wants to know the when and how to sign up for workshops or seminars at the Nationals, as there doesn't seem to be anything on the website.
There isn't. Most of those seminars are just show up. You don't have to have a ticket. You don't have to, reserve a spot. They're held in these fairly large breakout rooms near the convention floor. Now, what I recommend that people do is when either before you get to the convention or right when you get to the convention, the first thing you'll need to do is look at the seminar schedule. and figure out which seminars you want to attend. Then, circle those on the little fold handout that they give you with all the list of them, circle those on it, and then just set yourself some sort of alarm that you 5 or 10 minutes or 15 minutes before the seminar is supposed to start, set an alarm on your cell phone, because it is so easy to get distracted by the vendor room, the model room,
all the shiny,
all the shiny, or meeting and talking with modeling friends, particularly modeling internet friends that you only see once or twice a year, that it's easy to miss a seminar you really wanted to attend. So I do recommend setting yourself some alarms. But other than that, you don't have to get tickets. You don't have to sign up in advance. All you have to do is show up where they're giving the seminar.
and have fun.
Yeah, and have a lot of fun.
Well, Paul, if that's not the case, we'll try to correct that as soon as we can. But typically, Dave's right. That's usually the way it works.
Yep.
Last episode, did we say something about the seminar list, or was it the tours? I can't remember. Something wasn't going to be available till July.
I don't know, because I haven't gone on the well. In fact, I need to do that. I am, by the way, officially registered for the convention. I got both T-shirts, so I'm pre-registered, ready to go. But I need to get back on their website and take a look and see if they have the seminar list posted yet. Because if so, then I can start pre-planning some stuff.
Tim Cavalier is back again. And thanks for the mention of the 3D printed bottle holders for decal solutions. He found himself wishing for something recently as he was decaling his H-43 Husky. It's a helicopter he's working on.
Yep.
And knocked a bottle over. Well, no, he says he hasn't knocked a bottle over yet, but figured it's a matter of time.
Yep.
And he says he found one on Etsy, one of the blue and red double color printed ones.
Yep.
For the Microset and Microsol. So
yeah, they are great.
There you go.
I'm telling you. It's really fantastic. It is a nice addition to your benchtop, which I'm sitting here staring at mine as we're recording. And I did some cleaning in my model room last night, and I'm not done yet. I need to get some stuff better organized.
Well, I should get one. I can't remember if it's the set or the saw, but one of them's acetic acid. So when you spill it, your workshop smells like vinegar for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's Saul.
So don't spill it. Get a 3D printed holder.
Yep.
Kip Jackson is back again, regular listener, and he was listening to our comments about what music we prefer to listen to while modeling. He's got an extremely musically adventurous 32-year-old son, and he gives him a mixtape, essentially, on CD, of course, but his son calls it dadcore, like hardcore. So he's up to dadcore 18, and there's a bunch of bands here I haven't even heard of. So Kip, I'll send these to Dave as well, and we'll give him a listen. Yeah,
definitely. Listen, I'm always open for new music, new bands, new things to listen to.
And P.S. for Dave, I joined the IPMS 2 months ago, and also contacted our local chapter, and the first meeting will be July 1st.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Speaking of which, our local IPMS chapter, the Military Modelers Club of Louisville, we're having our first in-person meeting in over a year this Thursday, the 17th. So I cannot tell you how much I'm looking forward to that.
Steve Schaefer from Hastings, Michigan, was at WonderFest.
Oh.
He says he didn't realize we were going, and he's sorry he missed us. Maybe next year you would allow us to buy you guys dinner, or the last glass of or at least a glass of modeling fluid.
Hell yeah. Modeling fluid. I love to share modeling fluid and sit around and talk modeling. And WonderFest is so unique. Again, we'll get into it later, that talking to modelers who regularly participate in that, you're going to get some different perspectives. And I'm always looking for that.
Well, based on the bar service we got at WonderFest, I think
God.
We might as well order dinner while we order that glass of modeling fluid, because it's going to be dinner time by the time
it gets there. Either that or we'll go someplace else.
We could go someplace else. That'd probably be a good idea. And he also talks about tribute builds a little bit. because he builds a lot of sci-fi, and he's got some pictures he sent us of that, and he's got mostly another interest of 48th and 32nd scale aircraft. He's built a tribute build for Major General John Dolney. I've not heard of this person.
Mm-mm.
Apparently was big in the Minnesota Air National Guard, and was a World War II pilot as well. So yeah, tribute builds. We talked a little bit about that. This is a very, very nice model.
Yeah. Well, you know, since we talked about it, interesting thing, one of my neighbors down the street is apparently was with the 716th Military Police in Vietnam. I think he was there 69-70 or 68-69, and fantastic guy, good neighbor, fantastic guy. And that got me thinking about building a Vietnam era Jeep with the markings of that unit. And I already went out on the internet, and there's plenty of pictures of their vehicles and equipment. So that may be one that I'm slotting in.
One of his interesting builds, he built all this gentleman's, well, not all of them, but some of this gentleman's World War II aircraft. And interesting, one's an A-36, which is a really obscure kind of, it's not. I don't know how prolific of an aircraft that was. It's the ground attack version of the P-51, essentially, right? Right.
Yes, it's
or is it a precursor to the P-51?
Well, no, it's not a precursor. It was kind of a parallel development with the P-51 when they realized that the initial Packard engined or Allison engined P-51s didn't perform well at altitude. They put the 420 millimeters on it and turned it into a low level aircraft. And there weren't that many of them built, but it is it's always weird to see one because it looks like a P-51 mated with something that wasn't a P-51.
Well, it's got dive brakes.
Yes, it's got dive brakes and 4 big cannon.
Well, the thing he mentions is that on this Major Dolney's flew a P-47.
Yeah.
A jug, a bubble top.
Yeah.
P-47 Razor. Well, yeah. And this aircraft had this obscure kind of paint blotch on it that he actually put on the model. And what this was, this aircraft had like a sortie marking on it, a temporary marking, and it was supposed to be removed before the next mission or at some later time, and it wasn't. And the story is the ground crewman got chewed out for not removing this marking and grabbed a spray gun with whatever it had in it and sprayed this big black spot over it to wipe it out. and the person who the tribute build was for explained that he flew 4 or 5 missions with this big black blob on the airplane.
Yeah, I can believe that.
And finally is our friend Christopher Church from Springdale, Arkansas. He's asking what brand of mini lathe do I have? I answered him, but I'll answer for the listeners at large. I have just the Harbor Freight Central Machinery branded 7x10 mini lathe, and they're sold by Harbor Freight and a bunch of other companies. Even I think the Micromark branded ones are these same lathes. There's a Chinese company called Tag or something like that. They're all the same platform. You could get a Unimat, you could get a Shearline, you could go get one of the older vintage, higher quality kind of mini lathes. I'm trying to think of the one Paul Budzik uses, but it's neither here nor there. You can go that route, and the problem there is there's not a lot of support online. There is support online, but for these TAG mini lathes that are made by Harbor Freight or sold by Harbor Freight and other companies, there's a whole community out there of people who upgrade these and tweak them and have a lot of tutorial information on how to use them. So, and they're a lot cheaper than some of these older lathes or more sophisticated ones you can buy right out of the hobby market. Would I recommend it? I don't know yet. I can't say. I can see that a lot of people are getting good use out of them and making good parts. I mean, I'm not necessarily modeling parts. I mean, machined parts, bushings and bearings and parts for the lawnmower and stuff like that. But it's a capable tool. I'm sure it'll do what I want it to do once I figure out how to do it. But I'm not a machinist yet at all.
Well, I know the technical colleges, they actually offer courses in that sort of stuff, machining and lathing.
Oh yeah,
So,
that's one way to learn. If you
yeah.
have the time to do that, that'd be a great way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up the listener mail.
All right. Well, now's the time in the episode where I ask you to take a moment when you're done listening to go ahead and rate our podcast on whatever podcasting app you're listening to us on, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, whatever it is. Give us 5 stars if you would. It helps raise the visibility of the podcast. And in addition, we'd appreciate it if you would also tell a friend. The best way to grow your podcast is for a listener to tell somebody who's not listening about it. So those of you in model clubs and IPMS chapters, next time you're at a meeting, ask one of your friends if they're listening, and if they're not, turn them on to us. We'd appreciate it.
And while you're doing that, please check out our fellow podcasts in this community we have. We've got the Plastic Posse podcast here in the United States with the Skipper, Gilligan, Mr. Howell, and the Professor. Just kidding, guys. Scott, Doug, TJ, and John.
I want to know which one's Marianne and which one's Ginger.
Well, I didn't mention those, either one, did I? We've got On the Bench with Dave, Ian, and Julian out of Australia. They're a little late this week due to some inclement weather down in their part of the world. I hope that's gone over okay without too much disaster down there. God knows we've had enough already.
Yep.
And I am out of Vegemite now, just saying.
Do you know you can buy it at Kroger?
Can you really?
You can buy Vegemite in Kroger in the international aisle.
Where's the fun in that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's probably not real Vegemite. I mean, it's real Vegemite, but it's not straight from Australia Vegemite.
We've got Malcolm and James from the UK with Just Making Conversation. We've got the Scale Model Podcast out of Canada with Stewart and Company, and the Model Geeks with Darren Scott and the Andrews. So please check all those out. And if you get tired of podcasts, which we hope you never do, please check out our blog and YouTube friends with Sprue Pie with Frets from Stephen Lee. We've actually got him scheduled now. We're going to get an interview with Stephen, have a little fun with him. Yeah. We've got Inch High Guy, Jeff Groves, with his 70-second scale blog. Model Airplane Maker with Chris Wallace out of Canada with his blog and his YouTube channel. And finally, our good friend Jim Bates with the Scale Canadian TV. That's a lot of stuff.
That is. And finally, if you are not a member of your national IPMS chapter, that's either IPMS USA for folks here in the U.S., IPMS Canada for those of you who are living in America's hat, IPMS Australia or IPMS New Zealand, whatever national chapter. If you're not a member of your national chapter, please look into joining. It really is. IPMS is a great organization. There's a lot of international cooperation between the national organizations, and the national organizations supply a lot of the skeleton and backbone and structure that allows the local model chapters to exist and to run contests and do stuff like that. So if you're not a member, please join.
All right, Dave, let's take a break here and have a word from our sponsor. Plastic Model Mojo is now brought to you by Model Paint Solutions, your source for Harder Steenbeck airbrushes, David Union power tools, and laboratory-grade mixing, measuring, and storage tools for use with all your model paints, be they acrylic, enamels, or lacquers. Check them out at www.modelpaintsolutions.com. It's countdown to Vegas, Dave.
Yep, I've got to imagine that we're getting awfully close. How many days?
At the time of this recording, Dave, it is a mere 64 days away to the IPMS National Convention in sunny Las Vegas, Nevada. Not 364 or 365, but 64.
Just over 2 months, man.
It's going to happen quick.
I'm starting to twitch more than usual, man. I cannot wait.
Well, in keeping with what we've been doing over the last year or so, I got a nice email from Bob, so we ought to just get into that, I guess.
Yep.
Bob tells us that the trophy sponsorships are 104% sold out.
Fantastic.
So that's a done deal now, and then a little bit extra. He does say that anyone wishing to help out further can make an event sponsorship and have their name added to the posting on the wall. And I think he means the web page.
Yeah, well, and usually they have an actual thing at the show
That's
thanking all of their sponsors.
Further, the vendor tables are 100% sold out.
Surprise, surprise.
Anyone wishing to get on the backup list needs to please contact Joe Porcher and get your name on the list, because apparently there is one.
Yep. Well, they're all. I'll tell you what. It does not surprise me that they're 100% sold out and they've got a waiting list. I mean, it's just after a year with no convention, the demand was going to be through the roof, and that doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, related to our listener mail asking about this topic, the seminars are almost full, and he doesn't mean seats; he means seminars. The slate of seminars. They got 63 spots, all of which should not be missed. Well, that's going to be hard to do because a lot of them are going to be going on sequentially.
And that's why I said during the listener mail, one of the first things you need to do when you get to the Nationals is look at that seminar list, go through it, and circle the seminars that interest you and set some alarms so that you can make sure that you don't miss something you really want to see. The seminars are the hidden gems of the Nationals, and I don't think that enough people realize that and take advantage of that.
And to that point, the schedule of seminars will be posted on the IPMS Nationals Convention website on July 1st.
All right. In fact, I'll download that.
Then you'll get to know when everything is.
I will download that and start planning accordingly, man. I'm telling you, I can't wait.
Over 300 convention t-shirts have been pre-sold so far, with the Thunderbird shirt overtaking Alan the Alien by a mere 10 shirts. So that's still pretty close. And he also warns that those wishing early access to the awards ceremony should buy tickets now. There's only a few seats remaining. Tickets are $20 a pop and ensures a seat at the table and a complimentary drink. All remaining seating will be stadium style.
Yep.
In general, everything is moving forward now like a runaway train. Only a few weeks remain.
This is when Bob gets really busy. These things, people don't realize these things are 2+ years in the planning, because you plan your bid, you make your bid, you get awarded the show 2 years out, and then you spend the next 2 years doing the work, and that work really picks up in the last 60 days before a convention.
And poof, it's Sunday night. It's all
exactly over. The show itself goes by. I talked to Mike Moore, who did Chattanooga in 2019, and he says the whole thing went by like a blur.
Again, it is still not too late to pre-register because we are not at the start date for the show yet. So please pre-register. Save yourself some time.
Yes. You're not going to want to waste a minute standing in line once you get there. Pre-register so that the process is 2 minutes, not 2 hours standing in a line.
And if you pre-register, don't get to the Las Vegas venue pre-registered and find out your IPMS membership expired a week ago.
Yes, absolutely.
Because then you'll just be in line.
Yep. Renew early. If you've got an IPMS membership that's expiring in the next couple months, go ahead and re-up now. That way you will save yourself some headache and heartache.
Well, what are you most looking forward to, Dave?
God, everything. No, seriously. I'm looking forward to the seminars, because the seminars are the underappreciated part of every convention. There is always one or two that I go to that I'm just blown away by. Dr. Strangebrush is going to be doing an airbrushing seminar, which I've been to his previously at Chattanooga, and it is well worth going to. And there's always one or two seminars that I walk out of and I am blown away. I've really learned something new. And so I'm looking forward to seminars. I'm looking forward to seeing all of the internet modeling friends that I interact with all the time, including listeners here, that because of location, you never see in person. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to sitting in the bar at night when the convention is closed and just absolutely spending hours exchanging info and shooting the breeze with my fellow modelers, you included.
Well, I'm looking forward to meeting all these other podcasters because right now they're all just, well, sometimes their faces on
we've seen them on
Zoom or something like that. But, it's been a long time since we've met some new people face to face.
Absolutely. I am disappointed the Aussies won't be there, but I fully understand. And I've already been lobbying them to fly to Omaha.
All right. Well, let's count down to Vegas.
Mike, what's your bench top look like these last 2 weeks?
I've not done a whole lot, Dave, to be honest. Been on vacation, trying to figure out my lack of automobile. I've continued to chip away at these Zist 2 ammo boxes, and I've got a couple more together. But other than that, I'm sorry, folks. I just have not had a very productive bench in the last 2 weeks.
Well, I'm in a similar bind, of course, with being out up in Dayton 4 days for my daughter's surgery, had me away from the bench top. And actually, I'm out of AK flat white, so I can't begin chipping my M30 until I get that. Luckily, Jim Bates has come through for me, and I've got some AK flat white on the way. But I actually have made modeling progress. I took the Mosquito and primed it, and was with one or two exceptions, was pleasantly surprised at how well it had gone together. Spent, as you know, the Vegas Golden Knights are playing Jim Bates's Habs in the Stanley Cup semifinals. So last night, while I was watching the Golden Knights beat the Habs 4-1 in Game 1, I finished sanding the primer on the Mosquito and going in and spot filling the few little places that needed spot filling. So tonight, after we're finished recording, I plan on sitting at the bench and sanding out those fill spots and repriming it. And then in theory, from there, it's on to paint. And paint ain't that far from decals, and decals ain't that far from finished.
I need to get on the ball.
Yeah, well, when I look back this time last year, I had already finished 2 models and was about to finish a third. And right now I'm at 0 for the year. So, I've got to step up the pace for the last half of the year.
So you're not counting the 3D printed SpaceX?
Oh, that's right. You're right. I've got to count. I do have to count that because it was 5 parts. And I really did. I'd forgotten about that. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me.
Well, other than that, I've been trying to speculate a little bit here in this demise of Kitty Hawk.
Yes. I understand you've entered the model speculation market.
Well, we'll see. I'm trying to get a free kit.
Go ahead and explain it.
Well, everybody already knows that Kitty Hawk has ceased production, and right now there's no announcement that their tooling's going anywhere else anytime soon. And I've always been intrigued by their 32nd scale Kingfisher float plane. And it's not the easiest kit to build. That's no secret.
Yes. It is a challenge, as they say.
Which might be part of their Kitty Hawk's demise. I don't know, because that seems to be a theme that percolates through a lot of their product line.
Yeah.
But anyway, when I started looking for one, after hearing of Kitty Hawk's shuttering, I couldn't find one anywhere. They're all sold out at most of the vendors in the United States. And the ones on eBay were going for about 2 or 3 times retail and selling.
Yeah.
So I poked around some of my favorite obscure hobby vendors in the far reaches of the world, and I found a couple. Hopefully they're on their way soon. And I'm going to try to flip one of them and see if I can get the other one paid for. Simple as that.
Yeah. Well, that's not a bad listen. I know some people who jumped on when Wingnut Wings ceased. I know some people who their first instinct was to jump online and they managed to amass themselves a collection of wingnut kits that pretty much tripled in value.
And while a little bit different there, what I've been seeing is people have been listing these at, their regular pre-demise of Kitty Hawk price, and they just get bid up.
Yeah, supply.
I won't come out of the chute with a 2x scalp number on it, but if they do it to themselves.
Listen, I'm an ardent free marketer, willing buyer, willing seller. If
that's right.
If that's the aircraft of your dreams and you've always really wanted to build it and you're willing to pay for that privilege, hey, that's great.
I wonder how big a 32nd scale Nevada turret would be.
Pretty darn big.
That'd be impressive, though, wouldn't it?
Oh, yes, that would be super impressive. You've got to think with that Kitty Hawk kit out there, somebody has to have done that.
You'd think.
Okay, if anybody out there listening knows where somebody scratch built a 32nd scale Nevada or Arizona turret to go along with Kingfisher
and a catapult
and the catapult, send us the link. We want to see that.
Well, hopefully next episode's Benchtop halftime report is a little more interesting.
Yeah, remember we did that. We started this to keep our mojo alive and to keep these models moving across the bench.
How did we make it through last summer?
I guess because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
There wasn't as much traveling and other stuff. Now there was still yard work, and we still had our pool, and had people over for cookouts and such, but we didn't go on vacations or things like that. So I think we had more time at the bench.
Probably so. Well,
yeah,
I'll find some.
You and me both. Well, Mike, what's been announced lately that you've been excited about, and what's been announced that maybe doesn't exactly tickle your fancy?
Well, I was watching the big show in Japan. It wasn't so big this year.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. There wasn't a lot. I think that kind of opinion resonated throughout the model community. I believe that the show was a little laxed on new announcements. But that said, looking across the entire spectrum, I got a few here, a couple of faves and a yawn.
All right. Well, give me one.
My first one is a kit from I guess it's another new Chinese company.
Yeah, they're sprouting up like mushrooms.
I don't know if it's a subsidiary of one of the others. It's I Love Kit.
I Love Kit.
It's like our I Heart Kit. That's what their logo is. I Love Kit. I Heart Kit. I guess they're doing an M3A1 Lee medium tank. This is the cast hull Lee
in 35th.
In 35th scale.
Really? Has that one ever been done before?
In plastic, I'm thinking no. But with the Lee kits out there right now, It just seemed odd that the Mini Art or Tacom hadn't already done it. Maybe they have. I don't know. But it's a new tool. So that's got me interested. Not so much. I don't know if I'm interested in that version of that tank, but at least it put a World War II kit on their radar.
Well, that's, I'm always happy to see a new manufacturer. I'll tell you, the thing that pleased me in the last few years was seeing these companies, Arma and Clearprop, pop up out of nowhere, and they both seem to have very little learning curve before they hit just their stride with really, really good kits. So I'm always happy to see another manufacturer come out.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, before we get to your first one, I forgot something here.
Okay.
We need to give a shout out that this segment is being brought to our listeners by Horizon Models, again, out of Australia.
Yep. Good folks.
Tony down there at Horizon Models has put together a little package deal celebrating the 60th anniversary of Alan Shepard's historic flight into space with a dual boxing of the Mercury Atlas and Mercury Redstone kits in 1/72nd scale. This special has been extended to June 30th, so you still got a couple of weeks at the time of this recording to get that order in. You can get both kits together shipped from Australia for $60.
That's a deal. That's a deal. And I can tell you that you will be pleased by the quality of these things.
Yes, you will.
Now, I am just waiting for them to do the Titan 2 with the Gemini on it.
Thank you, Tony. Glad to give you a little shout out there.
Absolutely. Good folks.
What's your big fave of the episode?
Well, My first one is the announcement by Hobby Boss that they are releasing a 72nd scale U-2A Dragon, the giant reconnaissance aircraft of Gary Powers fame. This kit, the U2, has most famously been previously done in 72nd scale by Airfix a long, long time ago. And that kit is very difficult to find these days. And so having a new tool U2 is exciting as heck. The basic colors generally black or dark gray on pretty much every scheme, but you can do Taiwanese, you can do the CIA, you can do the U.S. Air Force. This really does fill a hole. So I'm very excited about it.
Wasn't there a Hawk kit?
I think the Hawk was 48 scale.
Oh, was it the one Testers reboxed?
Yes, I believe that one was 48 scale.
Well, that's interesting.
Yep. How about your next one?
AZ Models, this isn't a new kit announcement per se, but they keep piling on these BF 109s in 72nd scale.
Yeah.
And they've released a whole nother slew of E models.
Yeah.
In different markings. Have you seen any feedback on that kit yet?
Barry Numerick has been, Mr. ME109, has been doing builds over on 72nd scale for him, and his initial impressions are very favorable.
Well, they sure got a lot of them.
Yep, they do.
All right, you got another one?
Yes, I do. I've got another fave that, I will be honest with you, this is not my personal fave, but there are so many people in 72nd scale land that are going to be happy about this. I'm happy for them, even though I probably won't buy or build one. Dora Wings has announced a Curtiss Wright AT-9 Jeep. That's a 2-engine trainer aircraft that was used by the U.S. to train all of pretty much every multi-engine pilot passed through flying an AT-9 on their way to either flying B-17s or B-24s or C-47s. It was one of the most important trainer aircraft of the U.S. of World War II, and I know people who focus on those type of things, trainer aircraft and historic World War II lesser known U.S. types really have been wanting one. So Dora Wings does some good stuff. So you got to think that at least the odds are good that it's going to be a very nice kit. So I'm excited for them, even though I don't see an AT-9 in my future.
Well, you never know.
Yeah, true enough. Got anything else on the plate?
I got a yawn.
Okay, give me a yawn.
Platts out of Japan is reboxing the Italeri M41 Simavente, which I wonder if is the quote new tooled one, unquote.
I would think it would be. Was the new tool one really new tooled or just cleaned up?
I think they recut the tools on the old drawings. Is what I think they did.
Oh, okay.
It's just not that different, really. Anyway, they've reboxed it under the Girls and Panzers moniker.
Yeah.
Somebody buys these, I guess.
Oh, they do. They're wildly popular in Japan.
I guess so. Not for me, unless you just had to have the kit.
Yeah, which you can get in the Itinerary boxing, and I got to think it's going to be cheaper.
Yeah, it probably is. Now, I think under this Girls and Panzers line from Plots, I think they also boxed one of the fine molds, one of the more obscure early Japanese tanks. That I don't know if you can get it any other way.
You like the Type 89?
Well, I think it's the kit that they boxed with the, what was it, Hot Model Fan magazine or something like that. You got it a sprue at a time.
Yeah, I think that's the Type 89.
So that may be it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I could be completely wrong too.
Well, some listener will tell us.
I'm sure. You got a yawn?
No, I got another fave, and this one is tied to our trip to WonderFest last week. Right. AMT has announced in 72nd scale from the Mandalorian the Razor Crest, which is the ship the Mandalorian uses in the show
until it got vaporized.
Well, yeah. I don't watch the show, so I didn't know it got vaporized. Spoiler alert. But I know this has been in demand ever since The Mandalorian hit and turned out to be very popular among the Star Wars fans. Everybody was wondering who was going to do it. Were they going to do it? And when we were at WonderFest this past week, there was a sign up showing that AMT was going to be releasing a 72nd scale Razor Crest. So I'm betting you're going to see a lot of those next year at WonderFest.
Probably
and
will.
I'm happy for those guys, even though, again, I don't watch the show. It's not particularly my cup of tea, although I have been tempted by an X-Wing or a Y-Wing every once in a while.
You should watch it.
Yeah, I probably should, but I don't want to pay the money for it. I got too many streaming services now, man.
I'm surprised you don't have Disney Plus already.
Oh, well, actually, I do. I forgot. I never watch it, but we do have Disney Plus.
Well, then you're already paying for it.
You're right. I am. I'd completely forgotten about it.
I'll just say it's real Star Wars again.
Yes, which I will admit. I'm here to admit to you that I have seen nothing since the 3 prequels. They so damaged my psyche that I have not watched a single Star Wars movie that's come out since they did the 3. I guess they're not prequels. The 3 after are the sequels, I guess, to the original. And but yeah, I'm happy for all the Star Wars guys because this was very much something that was in demand.
Well, I think somebody else, Revell or somebody, was coming out with one on a smaller scale.
Well, are they?
Yeah, 1/44th maybe.
4th scale. Yeah, well, that's too small.
Well, you should get one because it's just like bare metal.
God.
There you go.
I got enough bare metal. Hey, when we talk about WonderFest, we'll mention bare metal.
All right. Well, that's all I've got. Do you have a yawn at all?
No, not at all, man.
Well, good job, makers. You kept Dave from having a yawn.
That's right. Nobody released pigeons.
All right. Well, speaking of WonderFest, our special segment tonight is a little bit of commentary on our trip to WonderFest. In addition to that commentary, we also got to talk with the show chairman, Dave Hodge, and we got a little short interview with him we'll get to. But we kind of we kicked it around for a while, but we kind of decided at the last minute to go ahead and go.
Both of us were worried that we wouldn't have that day free.
That's true, but we ended up having the day free, so I made the drive in, and we drove on to the convention hotel and had a pretty good time, all in all.
No, had a great time. I'll tell you that I hadn't been back to WonderFest in a couple of years, and then I was, of course, concerned, just like everybody's going to be concerned this year, coming out of the pandemic. Kentucky's been coming out of it pretty well, opening up pretty solidly, but there's still a lot of places that are more restricted, and I was a little concerned about how the attendance and everything might be, and it was rock solid. I mean, very, very well attended.
Well, we should have probably followed up after the fact to get the real numbers, but it did seem well attended. The model tables were certainly pretty full.
Yep, absolutely.
And the vendor room was hopping, that's for sure.
Yes, it was. I talked to Mark Cable while we were at the show. Mark is a member of our club, MMCL, but he also does judging at WonderFest. And he told me that when we talked, which was just about when entries ended, he said that the numbers were pretty comparable to the last show they had in 2019.
Well, there may be some folks out there who don't even know what WonderFest is.
Yep.
And WonderFest is a annual, basically fantasy and sci-fi event held in Louisville, Kentucky, here near us. And it is primarily a scale modeling event, and it's a fan event as well. There's usually some industry celebrities there, and animators, model makers from the film industry are typically there as guests, and kind of like the Comic-Con, but not so much the comics side of it, but scale modeling and all the film and anime and just all that kind of wrapped up into a scale modeling event. Yeah.
It actually, to a little history on it, way back when, it was more of a Comic-Con style event focusing on movies and sci-fi and stuff. And the little model contest was something they just decided to have at this convention. And the model contest has grown and grown as the convention itself has grown and grown. And so now what was just a little side part of the event is one of the main focuses. The model contest fills a room, and I've got to tell you, I don't know about you, but one of my impressions from walking the model room was how much the quality of the models has just gone through the roof. I mean, you would always see some good models at WonderFest, but the level of the quality has it's amazing. I got to say, the fantasy sci-fi modelers are really stepping up the game as far as modeling, weathering techniques, lighting. Lighting has just exploded in that space, and those guys are doing stuff that you don't see in really any other area of modeling. It's a whole additional skill set, and they're doing it with style.
Well, I think LED lighting has made that a lot easier.
Yes,
and there's a lot of pre-configured lighting kits you can buy now for a lot of these plastic and resin models. And you're right, man. It's just amazing, some of those starships, the way they were lit and how well it was done.
Yep.
Well, what else caught your eye there?
Well, of course, the figures have always been a big part of WonderFest. Again, just like the quality rising in the more traditional, what we would think of as model kits areas, the figures also. You're seeing folks who are clearly paying attention to what you're seeing from Ammo and AK and all of that regarding figure painting. In fact, I think both Ammo and AK have recently released books focusing on figure modeling as it applies to sci-fi and fantasy.
Oh yeah, and paint sets.
Yes, and paint sets to go with them, as opposed to military figures, because I think they recognize that there is a significant market there that they need to serve, and Lord knows Ammo and AK will not pass up an opportunity to serve a market.
Scale modeling for me is a lot like music. There's genres that aren't my cup of tea, but I can appreciate talent across the entire spectrum. And I tell you, I really enjoyed the time we spent with the gentleman from Florida.
Yes.
Who had built the replica of the studio model, the 1/18th, 19th scale.
Yeah.
Studio model of the Millennium Falcon. And we were sitting there looking at it. You know, he'd matched all the scale model parts that had been used to construct the studio models.
Yeah.
And you start recognizing things, and
that was fun.
It was a lot of fun. And I must admit, I did not know that the inside faces of the mandibles on the Millennium Falcon were the chassis and belly pan of 57 Chevy.
Neither did I. It's a great piece of trivia. Or the fact that there are two panther mantlets mounted on the top of those mandibles.
Yeah, that was really fun. He was really, really proud of his work, and he should have been. When you get people talking about their models, they can just go and go. And he was a lot of fun to talk to. And I took a picture of his display, but I can't remember his name. And
I've got it all on my phone. Just to give you a little background, this guy lives in Florida. He drove this thing up. It is 1/18th or 19th scale, he said. And it's an exact replica of the studio model of the Millennium Falcon. It weighs, he estimated, 125 pounds. This thing's like 4 foot across by 6 or 7 feet long. It's an amazing piece of work. He said he did it in 10 months, which just blows my mind. And again, it is a completely faithful reproduction of the actual studio model. And you know, when you're talking to somebody who has something that they have accomplished like that, you just love talking to them because you learn so much. Like you said, who would have thought that the inside facings were a couple of 57 Chevy kits
In 1/25th scale.
in 1/25th scale? It's amazing. And talking to him about the paint color and the weathering, and trying to match it to the more weathered version of the Millennium Falcon rather than what you see a lot of people do, which is paint it, fairly stark white. It was fascinating talking to him.
There were a lot of starships at the show.
Yes.
Just trying to raise an itch in me that needs a scratch. I knew that show would be dangerous.
Well, that's like going to the Nationals for me. I come home from the Nationals every time just so inspired. And there's usually a couple of things I see that just are like, yeah, I want to do something like that. Even though I know, frankly, talent-wise, I'm not at that level. But there's such inspiration, which is, again, why I say to people who don't go to model contests, you don't have to enter. Okay, if you don't want to, you don't have to enter. You're missing out on some of the fun if you don't, but that's a lot of people don't want to compete for whatever reason. That's fine. But go to these shows. They are absolutely fantastic modeling experiences.
Well, moving on to the vendor room, I tell you, man, there's some really, how to say it, cutting edge of resin casting.
Yes.
Would that be a way to put it?
Yes, absolutely. And you see 3D printing on display.
Everything from nature, like those 1/10 and 1/20th scale sharks and whales.
Yes, which were amazing. Where else are you going to see something like that?
Other than the ocean, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then just every character imaginable.
Yeah.
It's just so much to take in. So much, especially when you're not familiar with much of it.
Yeah.
The Star Wars and Star Trek, and there was the guy selling the movie prop replicas.
Yeah, the gun replicas from all the different
movie. Wasn't just guns. He had the magic flute from H.R. Puff and stuff, and
he had all the Harry Potter wands.
And the idol from Indiana Jones.
Yes. Well, and the other thing walking around the vendors, not only do you have model kits, resin, stuff like that, there are a lot of people selling collectibles. And you'll see a lot of old games and lunch boxes and, figures and stuff that you remember from your childhood. And I really found walking through that vendor area, I would see things and go, oh, yeah, I remember that. It would bring back a specific memory. And just, it's cool.
So one of the things I found really interesting at the show was, one of the guests was Marta Kristen. Is that right?
Yes.
Who played, I can't remember the character's name.
Judy on Lost in Space.
Yes.
The original
1960s Lost in Space was there as a guest. And that entire corner of the vendor room was devoted to props and replicas from the set of that show.
Yeah.
And I tell you, from when that show was made, they put a lot of work into that show.
Yes, they did. Well, there were 4 complete replica robots from the show, and it's amazing the amount of work that had gone into making those full-size replicas. And then they did the front panel from the bridge of the ship, and I know you took some photos or videos of it. That was amazing stuff.
Yeah, it really was.
I mean, those people are devoted to detail, to looking and staring and figuring out what it looked like so they could reproduce an exact replica of what was in the studio and used in the filming.
How long was that show even on?
It was only like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. And my favorite piece of trivia about that show is the theme song. Most people don't realize that was written by John Williams, Mr. Star Wars.
And Superman and
Indiana Jones and everything else. He that's one of the first, I think, either TV or theatrical compositions he did.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yep.
Well, while we were there, we got a chance to speak with Dave Hodge, and it worked out really well. He was a guest on Scale Model Podcast about the week before the show, so we tried to get a little different take on it and not ask so much about the history of the show, but kind of his take on how things were going, because it was really only the second show we had been to.
Yep.
And same for him. He had also been up to Roscoe Turner, and he mentioned that. And why don't we get into that?
Yeah, I think it was a great interview, and we got a lot of interesting insights into how this one turned out, which, of course, you never were going to know until it actually came off.
All right. Well, here's our time with Dave Hodge.
Oh, you want me to start?
I want you to introduce him, yeah.
Well, Mike, our guest is Dave Hodge, and I've known Dave longer than either of us care to say, I think, at this point.
Oh, yeah.
And
way back.
Way back.
Way back.
And Dave is one of the individuals who is in charge at WonderFest.
According to his badge, he is.
According to his badge, he is. And he's been with WonderFest since the beginning. He's one of the people who basically put it together.
And I'll intercede right here. I was not at the very beginning.
You weren't at the first one.
I was not.
But was it even WonderFest then?
I think it still had the name.
Did it?
At that point, but it was a little one-day show out at a Motor Inn on Brownsboro Road.
I remember.
Yeah.
Out near where Dave lives.
Yeah.
So, but I was not part of the club then, because it was started essentially run by Science Fiction Modelers Club of Louisville. So,
right.
But I took over as head of the show. Hang on. It's been 20 plus years.
Yeah, it was at least 20.
Yeah.
I remember incorporating WonderFest as a corporation in the early 90s.
Yes.
You, me, and Lee Staten at Lee's house.
Right. Exactly.
That is my.
I know Lee.
Yeah,
from the club.
That is
Our
my
club.
That is my one brag that I get to drop around.
Absolutely,
I'm the attorney who incorporated.
You are the
WonderFest.
attorney. You are the attorney of record, and you're still our attorney. So.
Well, luckily you've not had any trouble.
Well, of course not. No,
because he sucks.
Hey, he did my will.
Yeah.
So what are you getting, Dave?
all his models and stuff.
Yeah,
okay.
He doesn't know that.
Yeah, it was a hard bargain.
Yeah.
Well,
really.
how does it feel to actually be physically at a show? Is this your first one since the pandemic started?
Right. We canceled 2020.
But any show. Have you been to any show since the pandemic until this?
Yes. I went up to Indianapolis.
Oh, we were there too.
For the IPMS, and I know you guys were there. And that's what gave me a lot of encouragement for this show, because I was really worried that it would be difficult for people because we were going to make them wear masks. Yeah. We were going to do the safe thing. And I know not everybody believes in that type of thing, but we were going to follow the law. And I was going to try to do it in a way that wasn't, so tough. I mean, in the hallways and stuff, people can go without. But in that room where it's crowded, we were going to have a mask policy, and because I'm not somebody who wanted to be, going up to people, are you vaccinated? Are you vaccinated?
Papers, please.
Can you prove it? I'm like, no, just everybody wear a mask. You can, while you're in there shopping and spending your money and having a good time, I'm sure you can.
Right. Well, it's sit at home with no show. Or come to a show and wear a mask, right?
Exactly. Or sit at home with no show.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's interesting because I for fun, I attend a convention called G-Fest, and I'm admitting some stuff here. I'm a Godzilla fan, and
it's okay. We all are.
Thank God, because I am among geekdom. So,
yeah.
Well, we do have that in common.
and so they canceled again this year.
Oh, wow.
They have other challenges because many of their guests are from Japan.
Of
course,
that makes sense. Yeah.
Japan is a mess right now.
Yeah.
But once vaccinations really got started and things started to lighten up a bit, I felt like we could do this show and we could do it on time. Because that's the first thing I got was, I had people writing me and saying, move the show, move it back. And now we did that once and it was a mess. We tried to move it to October of 2020, and then October came around and everything was still just a god-awful mess.
Yeah.
So there were complications, having to cancel altogether, and that type of thing, which I had to work out with the hotel. So this time, once we made the commitment to go, we were bound to it. We were going to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just a matter of doing it as safely as possible, which I think is happening. Also, the what was I going to say there? Yeah, we essentially had to take a show that we take a year to do, because when this show ends, I'm already going to be working on 2022, right? Well, because of the uncertainty, there wasn't much done for this show, and the hotel itself was still a lot of their people were still furloughed, and the office, the convention liaisons office and stuff were understaffed, and so a year's worth of show came together in about 3 months.
And it's amazing. The show is, it looks exactly like and WonderFest any other year, other than the mask.
Right.
You couldn't tell that this show hadn't had a year's planning.
And that's a tribute to our crew. That's a tribute to all the folks that work, the small core people that work year round to do this. And I know, David, what it's like to try to put together a show, especially if your numbers are small, of staff working on it and stuff like that. So the fact that people are seeing this as more or less seamless is a real tribute to them, in that we have been able to pull it off with, all the cohesion and everything that we normally experience with this show. We take great pride in the fact that we make this show, no matter if there are problems or whatever, we make those invisible to people attending. We want them to come and have a good time. We don't want them to see any issues that we might have. And every year there's something. Yeah. There's always something.
Some minor drama.
Right, exactly. And there'll be times when I have to go in the office and lock myself in so I can yell at people on the phone. I can, and that type of thing. But we don't want our attendees to see anything like that. We want them to just say, "Hey, having a good time, and this is a well-run show," which it is.
You're just judging from Mike and I walking around and all. It looks like the numbers are the same as 2019, which would be your last one before
last show.
So it looks like basically everything's come back to normal. I assume you have some guests from outside the U.S. who weren't able to make it.
That's correct. Our Japanese guests, our Canadian guests, well, pretty much anybody from overseas. Yeah. Because we also have people from the United Kingdom and stuff. None of them could come. And you can tell here and there are tables here and there that are vacant for one reason or another. We've had a couple of folks that didn't show up, didn't contact us or anything, but we're sure it's probably related to all of this.
Sure.
We've had other people. We have new people. And they said, well, we want to do a show. We want to do a show. Somebody do a show. Yeah. And so like, oh, we'll come to your show because, you're having it. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of evened out. And I'll tell you, definitely our out-of-towners are down. Mm-hmm. But the local response has been huge, which is why it looks like we have the normal big crowd.
Yes.
But we got a ton of first timers, a lot more than we normally experience, because they found out we're doing a show and just like, wow, they're the only game in town.
Mm-hmm. Well, it could be testament to all the new people that have come into the hobby.
Yes. Well,
the scale modeling hobby. I mean, we're from different genres generally, but there's a lot of crossover.
But there's a tremendous amount of crossover, and absolutely, I do a lot of military modeling. David and I share a passion for submarines.
That's right.
Especially, have you seen some of those new kits, by the way?
Yes.
The Zvezda, especially the Delta IV. Oh man, that's a sweet kit. Anyway, and you make an excellent point there. We had a lot of people that came into the hobby because the pandemic kind of forced it.
Oh yeah,
the model room looks, crowded.
It is.
I was talking to Mark Cable, one of the folks who helps judge, and Mark said he thought it was about the same number of models as 2019. It's hard to tell because the table, especially in science fiction, fantasy, all that, the model sizes vary so much. So a table can look crowded or can look uncrowded and still have a ton of models on it.
It's pretty huge. So, we're very close to that.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see, because I was this morning when people were checking in last night, I happened to be up at registration, and this is another pandemic thing. I had guys with 22 entries. Stuff like that, they were just like, I got 22 models to enter, and just
that's what happened up at Indy with Ross.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one guy had 26. I think he was the biggest. He had 26. The actual number of individuals may be smaller, but the entries are going to be very close to what we had in 2019.
Okay,
and what's really cool about that is if we're low on that this time around, boy, wait till 2022 when we're really back in the groove. Our goal has always been we want to hit the century mark.
Oh yeah.
We want to go hit that century mark. And it's funny, I talked to George Zaletis, who's our contest chairman. He's all for it, but at the same time, it's like, where are we going to put it? Where are we going to put it all?
Yeah.
Well, your panic.
Your vendor rooms are full to the brim.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we do have and a lot of vendors. And again, initially I was sweating it pretty hard because the cancellations and rollovers and that type of thing, it's hard to keep cohesion with something like that. So I was pretty pleased that a majority of our dealers rolled with us. And so, but we do have some newer folks in there, and their stuff is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
A lot of pretty sweet stuff in there.
Oh, jeez, man.
A lot of stuff I didn't know I needed.
Yeah, well, that's me all over, because I was determined this year, and of course, you got to get something.
You just gotta.
But I had told myself, well, I'm going to be careful. I'm going to be careful. I don't want to spend a ton, but I do want to get something. There are some guys that literally save just for this show, and they will drop an ungodly amount of money on stuff here. But I was like, I'll be good. I'll be good. And then
then you walked into the room.
I walked into the room, and I'm looking, but then there was one particular table. And again, you may know this. I'm a shark guy.
Yeah. I know the table you're talking about.
You know the table I'm talking about.
Did you get the big one or the small one?
Oh, I got them all. I had a couple of them. They were holdovers, but all the new ones, I'm just like, Matt, who's the dealer? I said, Matt, how could you do this to me? I want this, and this. You're gonna have to. You have to
make me a deal for me.
You have to make me a deal. He says, no problem. And I said, damn you.
He's made truth of that old bumper sticker: save the whales, collect the whole set.
Yeah, exactly. Get the whole set, man.
Are those constant scale?
Yes. He has two different scales, and he has repeat. Like on one side, is 110 and the others are 120.
Uh-huh.
But he has a tiger shark and a mako shark in each set of scales. So,
Yeah.
oh man, it's so sweet for somebody like me who actually dives with sharks.
Yes.
So, it's just like,
Listeners don't know, but Dave's real life, he worked for the Louisville Zoo for how many years?
I worked there 27 years.
27 years, a lot of time with the big cats. And then he retired. And what did he do in retirement? He goes out and dives with sharks.
You got to keep it real, man.
I guess big cats were not scary
It's
enough.
not scary enough.
Let's find something.
Well,
a little,
it's
Too predictable.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting juxtaposition because when I took care of the big cats, they were in the cages. When I'm out there with the great white sharks, I'm in the cage.
And happy to be there.
Yeah, when you got there's one particular female that's very famous where we were diving at. Her name is Lucy, and she was there, and she came, I mean, literally within touching distance of the cage. She came just cruising by. And what's really cool is you look at their eyes, and their eyes, unlike the movies, in the movies, you know, of course, Quint's like, it's a doll's eyes, you know.
Dead eye.
Dead. They're dead. Oh, no, they're not. They actually have a blue pupil in them, and you can see that pupil looking you up and down as they go by. And you're going like,
Not enough meat on that one.
Yeah, not enough meat.
But Lucy is anywhere from 18 to 20 feet long, and she weighed between 2 and 2.5 tons.
Oh, yeah.
That is
That's a lot of
big
That's a fish.
fish. But anyway, I digress.
Well,
But anyway, it was about shark models. So.
Yes.
That's right. Well, you're day one here, halfway through it. What are your impressions generally with how it's gone? Relief.
Because as head of the show, it's my job to worry about how well the show's going to do.
Certainly.
And I just wasn't sure because our hotel rooms were not up to what we normally do. And again, that's because I have a lot of travelers that for one reason or another can't come in. So I was worried that would be a pretty down show. And just a little show history. The worst show we ever had was a show where we were forced to do it on Mother's Day.
Oh, man.
You talk about the kiss of death.
Yeah.
Can imagine.
Even NASCAR won't run on Mother's Day.
No. And at the time, the hotel was like, oh, we don't have anything else, and all that. Oh, okay, well, we'll give it oh, what a mistake. I should have just said, we'll wait.
Yeah.
We'll wait.
It's fall.
It was just the awfulest thing. So, I worried about that, that the turnout would be very limited because the show naturally, and, it took a financial hit. There's no question that canceling the 2020 show hurt us.
Right.
Because the bills don't necessarily
Bills don't stop, and it's the
You
seed money for the next one, right?
And Louisville likes their taxes.
Yeah, that's right.
They like their taxes a lot. And, and then the money for the next show. Now, we got some relief because some folks who love the show put together a thing called WonderFest.
Yes.
And it was a fundraiser, and it was a godsend. And it was a really good thing for us, and it helped us get over the hump. WonderFest will probably never happen again because
from those guys.
Because those guys found out how tough it is to run something like that.
Yeah.
So, but God bless them, they just they really came through for us, and that was a big help for getting us to this point. So, my nervousness, and I'm. That's why I'm in charge, so I can be nervous about this. It looks to me like it's going to be just fine.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Looks fantastic.
Well, we'll let you get back to it because you got work to do,
Yeah,
and we
that's
got
right.
a show to go see.
Okay, let's do
And
that.
we wish all the best with WonderFest 2021. I haven't been in a long time. I probably haven't been to this show in 14, 15 years. So
Wow.
I'm having a good time.
Well, good. I'm glad you're back. Perhaps you can make it back next year instead of waiting another 15 to 20.
I think I will, get it in our own backyard.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we're trying. Do you know who the guest is going to be next year? Have you already got that figured out?
Yes, but I can't say.
Oh, darn it! I tried, guys.
We've got somebody. We've got a couple of people we've already contacted. So, we'll see.
Got to come see next year.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to come see next
right.
year.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, guys.
All right.
Well, Dave, thanks for getting Dave on board with us there, and he certainly treated us nice at the show.
He did. Dave's a very old friend, and he and I have known each other from back when WonderFest was, before it was WonderFest, or just as it was becoming WonderFest. The most interesting insight that I think we got from that interview was the fact that because of COVID, of course, because WonderFest is truly an international show, they get guests from England and Canada and Australia and Mexico. But because of the COVID restrictions in a lot of those places, those people couldn't travel. And the interesting insight from him was, they were down there were fewer of those people because of that, but that the local attendance, both local to Louisville and local to the southeastern U.S. or south central U.S. had just exploded, had gone way up, which more than made up for the enforced lack of attendance from folks outside the U.S. So I'll be interested to see what happens next year with the folks from outside the U.S. coming back, I would imagine, in droves, and see how much of the local stuff they retain.
Well, again, it was kind of spur of the moment. We did get a nice little room to set up in, thanks to Dave.
Yes.
And we do appreciate that. And we'd hope to maybe meet up with Terry Measley from Scale Model Podcast, but we just didn't have time to put it together and hunt him down.
That was a crowded convention, man. It was tough to find people.
Well, and then we spent a half hour trying to get a menu from the bar server.
Yeah, well, that too.
And we were on short time anyway. So
yeah.
Next year, though, I think we need to make a little more honest effort to get there and let that roll out in a better fashion. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I'm glad we went.
I am too. I look forward to next year. Mike, do you have any shout outs for this episode?
Well, I do. This episode of Plastic Model Mojo is brought to you by our long-term listener, Tim Cavalier, who has chosen to make a regular financial contribution to us through our PayPal link. And Tim, we really appreciate all your contributions along that avenue, and as well as all your listener mail. Much appreciated. If anyone else would like to do that, you can go to plasticmodelmojo.com. And in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, you'll find a heart icon that will take you to our PayPal link to make such a contribution. And it's gone a long way to help us get equipped for these remote broadcasts and recordings. And by all means, if you feel the need to do that, please do it. We much appreciate it.
Yep. And man, I'll tell you what, all that equipment came in very handy. We couldn't have done that remote interview with Dave Hodge without that equipment.
Well, we got it set up so quick. That's why. You got one?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out Dr. Strangebrush. Dr. Miller is expanding his business, Model Paint Solutions. You can Google it. He provides great service. He's expanding into the AK Real Colors line. He's expanding into more kits as well as airbrush and paint. I placed an order with him, and his service was fantastic. My M30 Russian field gun's on hold because I need AK white, flat white to do the chipping. Our local hobby shop carries the AK Real Color sets, but he doesn't carry the entire rack. So I needed to pick up some flat white, and Dr. Strangebrush, with the help of Jim Bates, got me some flat white. You got another?
I do. I want to shout out to Tony at Horizon Models once again. He's helped us ease into real space modeling.
Yep. I'm anxious.
And much appreciated. There's some fine kits, and his deal is exceptional. So, again, if you haven't taken advantage of it, you've got until June 30th to get that order in and get that great deal on those Mercury rockets. You got another one?
Well, no, I think that's the end for me, man. We've been doing this fairly long, so it's going to be a normal length episode. So,
all right then, Dave. So many kits.
So little time, Mike.
All right. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.